Raise your hand if you're married. Raise your hand if you want to get married. Married ones are not allowed to. Raise your hand if you are lazy to raise your hand. Thank you. On June the 3rd, 2012, at the age of 28, with my eyes closed, I got married. People who see this picture later ask me, did you spend the entire wedding with eyes closed? The wedding was amazing. The after party was great. The honeymoon was short. The second day after honeymoon, I came home from work and I could not recognize the kitchen. The kitchen looked like as if the Roman Empire had just invaded it. I could see some sizzling cutlets in the background on the stove, but if you were standing next to me in that kitchen, you could smell, and from the smell you could tell that Roman Empire had burned those cutlets. There was another thing that I could not recognize in that kitchen. It was my newlywed wife. She was sad, demoralized, almost devastated. It was obvious. She couldn't cook. At that very moment, I had two options. Tell her about this, but then I had a risk of offending my newlywed wife's feelings, or not to tell her about this. But then I had a risk of dying from hunger. Not the best dilemma for a new husband. I took a third path. I walked to her and I said, honey, you are an amazing cook. Don't worry. To some of you it may sound like a lie, but in science there's a name for it. It's called Rosenthal effect. Positive and powerful words lead to increase in performance and efficiency. I decided to put it to test. Every day I complimented my wife that she was a great cook. Every dish she made, I ate with a huge appetite. After every meal, I praised her and then ran quickly to McDonald's. After several weeks, I started to see some progress. Meals were not as salty as they used to be, and there was more variety on the table. One evening, after truly delicious dinner, I told my wife, see honey, you are an amazing cook. I told you so. This time she came closer to me and said, I would not be able to do it without your supportive words. Thank you, science. The reason I shared this story with you is that as a public speaker, I have always been fascinated by the power of the words and how they can create an impact on others. Many public speakers believe that words are not as powerful as the body language, gestures, or facial expression. I simply disagree. I believe words, if used in the right context, with the right intonation, with the right meaning, could be the most powerful tool one person can possess. You may think words are just a bunch of letters gathered together, part of our day-to-day communication, which is true. We use words to escape the bothering pressure of silence or get away from annoying boredom. But before you disregard the power of the words, think about Rosenthal effect that I used on my wife to improve her cooking skills. If I keep repeatedly telling you, that you are the most hardworking graphic designer in my team, this will inspire you to create more art. If I keep repeatedly telling you that you are the most hardworking violin player in the band, even if you did not care in the first place, my expectation of you will inspire you to start caring. Personal trainers like Yusuf, coaches, military people, professors use this technique for students, performers, athletes, and soldiers. Now you may question, what does it have to do with my talk? Today I'm here to share with you a very simple equation. The equation I have built using the power of the words. The equation, I believe, summarizes success. And I also believe that is the only equation you need to remember. By the end of the talk, you will be able to take the equation I have built and write your own success story. You will be able to take the equation I have built and use it for your own success. Let me show you how you're going to do that. A few months earlier, I was watching a documentary about Einstein. In the documentary, Einstein was saying, if you want to understand the universe, you need to understand physics. And part of his job was to make physics understandable for everybody. That's why he was trying to summarize physics in a very simple form. After many trial and error, he came up with this. E equal to mc squared. This equation is ½ inch long, very simple, and indeed it does summarize all the physical forces in the universe. Einstein went on in the documentary and said, never lose a holy curiosity. At that point, the curiosity kicked in. I came up with a question. How can I, as a public speaker, summarize success, because this is what I talk about in my work, using the power of the words, because I'm a linguistics? The answer was there. I had to come up with an equation, just like Einstein did, using the words. But then there was another question. Which words do I use for that equation, and where do I get them from? I started where most of us do. Google. But this may be shocking for you. Not everything is on Google. So I decided to take it deeper. I read a lot of scientific materials, research articles. I solved Rubik's Cube. I took a lot of showers trying to come up with the idea. And in one of the showers, bingo, the idea came. Turns out, all this time, I did not have to solve Rubik's Cube or read a lot of scientific materials, but I'm glad I took the showers. Turns out, what I was looking for was all the time before my eyes. I'm talking about the feedback I receive from the people on a daily basis. The feedback messages describe what I'm really good at, how others see me, what are my strengths, my skills, my qualities, my qualifications. I went to study and analyze every single piece of feedback I have received. I underlined the words that highlighted my skills, my strengths, my qualities and qualifications. I collected all these words and dumped into Wordle, a platform that generates an image based on the repetitiveness of the word. In other words, the more repeated the word is, the larger the image is. And this is what I got. 3 words among everything else were repeated more often than the others. Passion, sincerity, charisma. It made total sense to me. I am passionate about what I do. I am very sincere with the people I work with. Charisma, thank you ladies for the compliment. I tried to catch up. And I thought, this is it. If you are passionate about what you do, if you are sincere, and if you can add a little bit of charisma, you will be successful in anything you do. So at that point, I was ready to present the equation of success. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. Passion plus sincerity plus charisma, you have success. Wait a second. I took a step back, I looked at the equation, and I said, the equation of success? This simple? No way. So I decided to dig deeper, and I came up with two major findings. Finding number one, these three words are not the only words in the equation of success. There are two more hidden words, which is faith and fear, and I will talk about that in a bit. And finding number two, which is more important than the first one, this equation of success was mine. Not yours, not yours, and not yours. I may be passionate, you may be dedicated. I may be sincere, you may be well organized. I may be charismatic, you may be failure-proof or resilient. In other words, my strengths, my skills, my equation of success will not necessarily match with the one of yours. I was about to stop. But then I remembered Einstein's words again. Never lose a holy curiosity. Curiosity kicked in again, and I started to come up with questions. How do I take my equation of success and make it universal? How do I make my equation of success work for everybody? How do I do that so everybody in this room, each and every one of you, can take this equation and write their own equation of success? Married ones, what do you do when you have questions and not the answers? You go to your wife. I went to my wife and I explained to her the project, and I asked, honey, how do I jump the curve? How do I go to the next level? Help me. She looked at me with her big brown eyes and said, I think I can help you, but why don't you first change the baby's diapers? But then she said something very wise. She said, stop being selfish. Shift the focus. She said, instead of asking yourself, instead of trying to find what this describes you best, why don't you go to the people you interview? Why don't you go to the people you communicate with? Why don't you go to the people you work with and train and ask them to describe with 3 positive words? Not you, but themselves. It was a brilliant idea. I went to people I work with, I communicate with, I train, and I interview, and I ask them to describe themselves with 3 positive words. Why 3? There's something magical about 3. That's a different story. But you have no idea how open people are about their self-beliefs about themselves. It did not take more than 30 seconds for people to come up with 3 positive words about themselves. Organized, well-coordinated, resilient, dedicated, committed, passionate. That was a turning point in my work. I had tons of data to work on. So I gathered everything, and after some analysis and work on them, I was ready to present the universal equation of success. And this is what I found. Yes, it is blank. And the reason it is blank is that in order to find the equation of success that works for you, you have to find your 3 words that describe your skills, your qualities, and your qualifications best. The funny thing about this equation of success is that when and if you find those 3 words, your work is not done. You still have to deal with fear and faith. What is fear? There's no tangible answer to that question, but I can describe it this way. Fear is something that keeps us quiet or makes us walk away. Fear is something that pushes all our dreams and goals and wishes down the drain. Fear is something that paralyzes us. Fear is something that makes us question whether we are good enough. Fear is something that makes us blame ourselves, others, the world, the life. I have kept fear in my equation of success because I never learned to destroy it. But I learned to battle it with faith. And if you ask me, what is faith? To me, faith is the soul of the equation. Faith is the fuel in the car. It's the drive behind all of our accomplishments. Faith is something that pulls all those dreams and goals and wishes up back from the drain and inspires you to pursue them. Wherever there is faith, there is no place for fear. Every time I feel bad, I look at my equation of success. They are my new standards. Those are the shoes that I have to fill in. This is how people see me. This is how they expect me to be. And every day I strive to be like that. It takes me to the next step, one step at a time. If I could leave you with one message at the end of my talk, it will be this. There are more than hundreds of thousands of public speakers talking about success. More than 1 million books written on this topic. And you can read tens of hundreds of articles on LinkedIn about success every day. But let me tell you this. When it comes to your success, one size does not fit all. I believe it takes 3 words to find your equation of success. And the best way to do that is to ask the people you live with, you communicate with, you work with. Is to ask them to describe you with 3 positive words. To describe what makes you unique, what makes you stand out from the crowd, what describes your talents, skills, and strengths best. Once you have found those words, you can fill in the blanks. Your fears will be defeated by your faith. Ladies and gentlemen, and I believe this is the only equation you will need to remember in this life. Thank you.